Flight Dreams, a Mark Manning mystery, Book 1. Author, Michael Kraft. Publisher, Open Road Integrated Media, New York. Narrator, Eric Ost. Tuesday, December 22nd. 10 days till deadline. Manning stands in the middle of the street that runs straight between two rows of white houses. This is everyone's mental picture of everyone else's hometown, though no one ever grew up here. It is the childhood setting that everyone feels deprived for having missed. Manning is dressed to run again. He has been lax about it lately, and guilt gnaws at the lining of his stomach. He wonders if he's fit for the task that now faces him. The sun shines intensely from somewhere in the crystal sky, and he knows that his run will soon overheat him. He straddles the line of elastic tape in the middle of the road and removes his tight black t-shirt, his loose white shorts, and stands naked except for his running shoes. Aroused by the warmth of the sun against his body, he answers without hesitation the urge to stroke his penis to full erection. He wonders, without caring, if he is watched from behind the delicate lace curtains that flutter in the windows of the big clapboard houses. He takes a deep breath, his lungs filled with the enriched and purified air that hangs over this special place. His veins course with blood that is instantly thicker, redder, more nourished for action. Manning begins to run. His feet grate the pebbled asphalt on either side of the white line. His hair bobs rhythmically, parting into broad, tapering licks. He feels the repeated tug of gravity on the muscles of his chest and on his wobbling penis. Picking up speed, he feels no trace of pain or stress or fatigue, focusing only upon that point at the horizon where the white line ends. Houses and trees rush past him in a blur. He trips as though a wire has snagged his toes. He pitches forward with a force that threatens to grind his body along the pavement, but he feels no fear, recalling in a flash that the street will not rise to scrape against him. He is aloft. He summons with ecstatic abandon the powers that he so needlessly doubted and even feared when he first came to this place. Those powers from within that erase his tensions and allow him to soar, to flee from the forces that sought to trap him, to restrict him, to anchor him, plotting forever the approved and expected pathways of a hostile earth. Forces from without that he now so easily conquers from within. Manning blasts ahead over the line that stretches endlessly toward the horizon. A horizon that curves downward at the limits of his vision as he rises steadily from the ground and approaches the canopy of trees and birds that roar above him in the gusty friction of moving air. He does not want to break through the trees, not yet, but to soar at ever greater speed just below their limbs, constantly within sight of the line. It seems as though the universe itself is ripping past him. Only the hard-edged stripe of white tape travels with him, fixed and unwavering, pure and straight. Zipping through space with his eyes aimed before him, Manning now notices that there is something on the road, on top of the line, far, far ahead. Intrigued, he slows his flight. As he draws nearer, approaching the unknown object with caution, a burst of anger rises within him, provoked by the discovery that something has encroached upon his territory. Something has invaded a world that's been his alone. The object moves. It's alive. Manning freezes in midair for the slightest fraction of a second. It is not something, but someone. Who has entered his inner world? Manning's flight slows to a crawl, high in the trees as he stalks the alien visitor. The person is still a great distance down the road, but Manning now sees his features with sudden clarity. It is Neil. He lies naked on the street atop the white line. Facing Manning, his legs are spread wide and his eyes are closed. He tugs comfortably, patiently on his swollen penis. Manning's arousal grows with new intensity and fevered urgency. A single desire, a single need, grips all his senses. He darts from his concealed path of flight and dives toward the man lying in the street. He plummets from the trees in a state of wild excitement, and at last feels the burn of flesh against his own, the stiff jab of a penis, the abrasion of hair, the tangle of legs. Manny is blind, lost in a frenzy of random thrust, when he hears the words, "You're not queer! You're not queer!" echoing from his partner. He looks to the head of the body. He has penetrated and finds Roxanne's face thrashing in the pool of hair upon the street. Manning awakes, terrified, gasping for each breath. His terror gives way to inexpressible confusion, and he sobs aloud. A hot tear slides from his cheek to form a cold little pool between the tendons of his neck. In the darkness, he kicks free of the sheets and tries to masturbate. "Good morning, it is Bud Sturcom." Manning's chances for an orgasm, which were iffy at best, now wither completely. The radio drawls. "It's 20 degrees at 7 o'clock in Chicago, and the weatherman says snow is coming. Maybe a heap of it. In case you're keeping track, it's our darkest morning of the year, the first full day of winter. But there's news on a couple of fronts that should brighten your day and warm your heart. First, there are more encouraging signs from Ethiopia that the hostages there will soon be released. A lot of prayers would be answered if those heroic Americans made it home for Christmas. And locally, the state's attorney is wrapping up a Christmas gift for the people, promising a rigorous interrogations when the Houseman trial opens next week. The answer to our prayers for justice in the shocking saga of Helena Carter's disappearance. We'll open the phone lines later to get your input on all this late-breaking news. But first, let's ease into the morning with a little Puccini. Born this day in 1858, let's travel back in time with him to a Christmas Eve in Paris. Manning recognized the festive opening of Act 2 of La Boheme. It's a lovely recording, but he's not in the mood for it. He switches off the radio and stares into the dark silence. He has always prided himself on his efficiency, his organization, his ability to get things done by rationally analyzing the situation and proceeding logically from point A to point Z. But now it's come to this. His life is a mess of uncertainties that threaten his job, his reputation, his very identity. Lying there in the pre-dawn emptiness of his bed, there's not a damn thing he can do to defend his career as a reporter. Not at this moment. But there is, he knows, something he can do to bolster his own self-worth through the honesty of a simple action he can no longer dodge. Manning swings his feet to the floor and sits up. He switches on the lamp. His eyes crackle for a few seconds, then he reaches for the phone and dials a number he has never called, but knows by heart. Spurts of electricity race 1,500 miles southwest to another time zone and enliven a bedside telephone on a mountain in the desert. Neil picks up the receiver on the second ring. He has been roused from a deep sleep and holds the phone next to his head on the pillow, eyes still closed, unsure what to do next. A voice finally says, "Hello, Neil. This is Mark, in Chicago." The words hit Neil like cold water. His eyes spring open as he bolts upright in bed, checking the time. "Is something wrong, Mark?" "It's 6 o'clock. Are you all right?" Manning laughs. "Yes, Neil. Everything's fine. I'm sorry to wake you, but I really need to talk. Are you angry?" It's Neil's turn to laugh. "Hardly. I've been hoping you'd call for weeks. I'd have lost hope completely without the updates from Rox. She says you've spent some time together." Neil interrupts the silence as an audible blush. The only time Manning has spent with Roxanne, other than a few awkward phone conversations at the office, was their session in her apartment after the airport. "That was a strange day for all of us, Neil. Whatever happened, I'm still not able to make sense of it." Manning pauses, ready to change the subject, but careful to weigh his words. "You once invited me to come out and spend some time with you. I know it's short notice, but I need to see you. Soon. There's so much to talk about. There's so much that hasn't been said or done. I can get away Thursday, day after tomorrow, if it's not inconvenient for you." Of course, you're welcome. How long can you stay? Just a few days. A long weekend. I've got a hell of a lot going on here right now. That'll be wonderful. Do you have a ticket? Thursday is Christmas Eve, so flights are bound to be booked solid. Oh, says Manning. He hasn't given the holidays the slightest thought. I made up my mind about this only a few minutes ago, and I wanted to check with you first. Let me see what I can do, offers Neil. I know a travel agent, and he owes me a favor. Please, Neil, don't bother. Truly, I forgot about Christmas. You must have plans. I don't want to intrude. Nonsense. Christmas is a family holiday, and I have no family out here, and I have no plans that can't be broken gracefully. Besides, Mark, I'd rather be with you. I actually dreamed about you last night. Must have been thinking about you when I went to bed. I'd just seen you on TV. You what? Didn't you see it? It wasn't the first time either. Manny won't admit that he never watches television. It sounds so snobbish, yet the fact remains that he long ago lost interest in the tube. It was on the evening news, Neil continues. It was just a crowd scene in some hallway, but there you were, and they flashed your name on the screen. You're becoming quite the media darling, Mr. Manning. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.